It's battle time, Heaven Hill versus Woodford Reserve. Both are historically known for great products as well as a cult-like following of whiskey warriors. But just how good are their special releases? Tonight we have not one, but two 121 proof special releases with completely different flavor profiles. But are higher proofs and unique mash bills enough to win the competition? We're about to find out. It's the Cynple Whiskey Show. Welcome back to day 8 of the 12 Days of Whiskey. I'm Cyncere, and tonight's matchup features two special release bourbons. Heaven Hill's Grain to Glass Wheated Bourbon and Woodford Reserve's Masters Collection Batch Proof. But before we dive in, please take a moment to subscribe and don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps me bring more content to you through the algorithm. Now let's break down these bottles. First up, we have Heaven Hill Grain to Glass Wheated Bourbon. This limited edition is part of Heaven Hill's new series focusing on grain provenance and local sourcing. Distilled from a mash bill of 52% corn, 35% wheat, and 13% malted barley, it's aged for 6 years and bottled at a robust 121 proof. Priced at about $99, it's a unique offering that emphasizes the influence of grain selection on flavor. But will all that local sourcing and uniqueness be enough to beat the contender? Let's find out. Facing off against Heaven Hill, we have Woodford Reserve Batch Proof. This expression is part of Woodford's Master Collection, showcasing their bourbon in its purest form. Bottled straight from the barrel at 121.2 proof, with a mash bill of 72% corn, 18% rye, and 10% malted barley. It offers a bold and unfiltering tasting experience, retailing at a whopping $160. It's a premium pour for those of you seeking intensity and depth. Enough fluff with the about the bottle stuff. Let's get to sipping. Alright, Heaven Hill Grain to Glass. Rich and doughy up front, I get a little bit of caramelized sugar. Something else really sweet coming through on this one. Almost like a pecan pie glaze or maybe even like a maple syrup. Something really, really sweet. Definitely a good note. And as it opens up a little bit, there's a small hint of like a cocktail cherry. Something a little bit brighter than what I was getting in terms of the sweet note, but overall a good nose. Woodford Reserve's Master Collection Batch Proof. All right, on the nose, I get that tea note again. I recalled it before the 12 Days of Whiskey, I'd never got a tea note on a nose, but second time in 12 days or however many days we filmed at this point. Very oak forward as well, a little bit of like a dried leather, even a little bit of a tobacco and a cedar note on this one as well. It's like a cigar box in a glass. It is robust as well as layered, so let's get in for a sip. All right, Heaven Hill Grain to Glass. Something about this one I didn't like the very first time I had a pour of it. As you can see now, I've definitely went back to it a couple of times and it grew on me. Otherwise, it wouldn't even have made it into the competition. And matter of fact, same with this Woodford. This was one I absolutely hated, and I don't know if it was the $160 price or the fact that I just didn't like it when I first got it, but I've definitely went back to this one a few times, so let's give them a sip. Surprisingly approachable given it's 121 proof. I was worried it'd be a little bit too hot for the first sip of the night. So I get some sort of a jam or jelly note, like maybe even a strawberry candy note. But the real thing that comes through on this is like a, not even a burnt toast, but like a well-cooked toast note. No butter, just the toast, but that breadiness and the richness of toasted bread is what I get as the primary note on this one. It dries into like a warm, peppery finish with a little bit of a light oak, as well as a small smidge of cherry note. It's really balanced and really complex. The finish on this is pretty warm, very lingering, with a gentle spice that really complements that sweetness that you get on the palate, and the oak and cherry notes persist, giving a really sweet and smooth aftertaste. Let's try the Woodford Reserve. So Woodford Reserve, I got that tea note that really stood out to me in the nose, but let's see what we get on the palate. Oh yeah, that tea note shines through at the beginning, and then it lends to like a charred oak, a little bit of a caramel, like a cocoa note, something a little bit deeper chocolate. This is a good bourbon. This is quintessential bourbon, what you'd expect to get, minus that tea note. I get like a little bit of peppermint as it lingers on a little bit, which is very fitting given we are in the holiday season. And as my palate adjusts, I get some sort of a dried berry note. The finish is long, but also dry, kind of like the Heaven Hill. But I do get like a lingering espresso note to go along with that chocolatey note that I got on the palate. It's like a mocha latte. All right, so only one can win. Let's get to the winner. All right, so this is a tough call because the flavor profiles are complete opposite of one another. On one hand, you get your traditional bourbon notes. Then on the other hand, you get that doughy note with a little bit of fruit. So for me, the winner is Woodford Reserve Master's Collection Batch Proof. Heaven Hill impresses with its balance. It offers a rich, approachable profile. But on the other hand, Woodford delivers the intensity, the complexity, and it showcases the beauty of uncut, unfiltered bourbon. And both are exceptional in their own right, but what are your thoughts? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think. Heaven Hill or Woodford Reserve Master's Collection, especially if you've had both of them, or which one would you be more interested to try based off of the flavor profiles we discussed tonight? Now let's see what happens when we blend the two. Threw these things in a mixing pot and still ended up with a super dark, super rich, darker amber color on this. Looks very good. That maple and oak note come through on this. A little bit of that tea note that I got on the Woodford. I definitely get a caramel note and a little bit of strawberry, but the sweeter notes, the richer notes outshine anything sweet in terms of a fruitier note when I have them blended together. Let's go in for a sip. Cheers. Well, throw everything out the window I just said about the nose. The strawberry note comes through a whole lot more than I would ever have imagined based off of the nose and what I just got on it. A little bit of that oaky note on the back end of it. That doughy bread note that I got on the Heaven Hill comes through a lot more in this too. So you mix in some of those richer notes that you get from the Woodford and then the brighter notes I got from the Heaven Hill. And this makes a really good blend. So another one that I'll enjoy while I'm editing tonight. Let's close this thing out. That wraps up day 8 of the 12 Days of Whiskey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to go back and watch the rest of them, and then also like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell so you get updates and alerts whenever the new ones come out. And I'll leave you with this. Whiskey is about exploration and enjoyment. No journey has ever ended well if you didn't start it in the first place. Here's to discovering new favorites, savoring each bottle, and keeping it simple. Cheers.